Hello, ho ho ho. David Bradley from the pet room here. Oh, I spent, well, really more than a day, but about 14 and a half hours on a movie set. I cannot tell you the name of the production. But let me tell you, the preparation for somebody such as me who does background, what they call background performers, not extras, background performers. And there's a lot to it. But anyway, the amount of work that goes into getting ready to do a day, a night, or whatever is pretty. Um, it's probably double the time that you're actually there. Anyway, this session lasted 14 and a half hours, and it was a hot, muggy day, and it rained, and on and on it went. But anyway, the reason I ended up going was because I was able to borrow a car, because they wanted people to have cars, because they wanted to have a parking lot that looked really full. But they said no black, no red, and no white cars. Of course, my car is black. So anyway, I arranged to swap cars for a day, so to drive down to Toronto, drive back, be ready. This all happened in the middle of the night, because a trip downtown and back can take, in the middle of the night, I would say just a hair over an hour, whereas that same trip, depending on the time of day, could take 4 hours. So then, of course, after the show is over, I have to repeat the process. Anyway, what I have here, I always take things with me to survive, just in case. For example, a lint roller. Now, do I really need to take this? Do they have lint rollers there? Yeah, I suspect they do. This, this is a water bottle, but this was not just any water bottle. This really helped because it was a hot, nasty day. So what I did is I froze a bunch of these about halfway, and then before I left, I filled the other half, and I put them in a little kind of, it wasn't a cooler, kind of a cooler bag thing. So they stayed cold. Now, it's not that they don't have water on the set, they do, and such, but it's one of those things where, depending where you are, you may be a long way away from the craft table, which is set up for the background people. But in my case, yesterday I was very close to the craft truck, but background people aren't supposed to go to the craft truck. And sometimes you find water that is cold, and sometimes you find water that is not so cold. So I had in the trunk this bag, and I went there a time or two, and oh, it was wonderful because it was hot, it was muggy, sometimes it was sunny, and I would, of course, do my best to stay out of the sun, but also there was the hint of the smoke from the wildfires. Anyway, beautiful thing. And as these bottles are recyclable, um, then in my case, what I'll probably do, because it seems I drank about half of this, I'll throw this back in the freezer so I can do it all again sometime. Oh yes, I was summoned. This guy who was one of the people who was telling us where to go and stuff, was telling us, oh, there are Subway subs over at the craft table thing. Well, here's the funny thing: crew people can go to our craft table, but we're not supposed to go to their craft. By the way, craft, I don't know why it's called craft, but anyway, it basically means where there's food. So I head over there thinking, oh, something good. Not that the lunch wasn't good. Lunch is always good. But anyway, here it is. It's getting on into the day, and I'm fading a bit. Mind you, I've been up a lot. So I head over thinking some sort of sub would be good. What did I leave with? Oh, a package of Dad's cookies. Hmm. Now, it is not that I did not take things with. Oh, and I did get some other things when I was there, but I haven't tried these. Well, little celebration cookie Haven't tried them. I thought I might grab them just to try and keep going. What else? Oh, now here. Oh, this might not have gone well. I took these along thinking that that might be good, and usually it is good, but I never actually got to them. So I'm hoping they didn't melt too badly because it was hot. I'll put them in the fridge, and also I took some of these. Did I ever get into them? No, but I was ready. I will put them also in the fridge. What else do we have? Oh, look. We have some little mini Oreos. I got them, I guess, at the same time as the things. What things? The dad's cookies. Now here is something. See, when they hire you, they're looking also to get some tax credit. So they ask you for all kinds of documentation to prove that you actually live in the province that you live in. Now, there are, I'm sure, people who don't. But anyway, you have to send, or you're requested to send, all kinds of stuff. And they used to sort of want you to do it there. And there was also, the Ontario Worker Health and Safety Awareness Certificate, which I did years ago. So yes, I have since taken a picture of that. And but thankfully this one, in order to, because there were a lot of us there and save time and stuff, they have given us an email address to send stuff to. So I will send things there. Now, what else? Oh, this is an essential part of the thing. And actually, I was able to come to the rescue of a woman on the set. This is my cell phone battery charger thing. I can plug it in, and it will do just fine. But what? Oh, it's still got some to it. Anyway, but on the set, they don't really have plugs, and they don't really want you to be pestering them for plugs for your phone. So here we have a charger. And right now it's at 49%. So I will plug that in again here, and I will leave it here. And I don't like to move them around much. But anyway, this one lady did appear with some level of distress that her phone was dying. And I said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Actually, at the time, I was sitting in my car because I was used as a moving car in the parking lot thing. And then they weren't sure if they still needed me for a different angle because they shoot things from different angles. So they said, just stay in the car. So I was there. I was able to get a good zap into her phone. And that was good. This is, of course, something I usually keep in my phone, which at the moment is in the bag. That goes in a cigarette later. This goes in a phone. So I will take those back. Or that's back to the phone. This will stay here. And just in case of emergencies, I took along a bunch of napkins. Because you never know, you might have a spill or something might happen. So I will keep them not right here, but I'll hold on to them. Because you never know when you might have a spill, or sometimes I keep them in the car, checking the oil and other such things. But anyway, if you do have a spill, it helps. And also, once again, it's not a bad thing. Oh, I did one horrible thing, by the way. Here's some more stuff that didn't get looked into that will go in the fridge. I did one thing, and from what I can tell, it was this bag that let me down. Look. Once again, emergency cookies. I'm sure, here's a good thing to take. Nail clippers. You never know when something, you're in a strange place and you gonk a nail, you do something, or once again, somebody might come say, hey, I've got a nail thing. Now, they have somebody on the site who is a nurse, and I did hear them get called for a couple of times for not serious things. For example, the lady cutting up the watermelon for lunch apparently nicked her finger a little wee bit. So anyway, they were summoned to do their thing. But anyway, in this bag, I was supposed to have put a couple of pens. Somehow I didn't. So I end up there with nothing to write with. I was like, oh, I can't believe it. It's like a rookie mistake. I usually take lots of pens, and I'm ready to help others with pens, but I've got no pens. And this I took, and I never did end up using it. It was given to me by a fellow, Big John. We both had the same kind of trikes, and yes, it's beat its use. It's actually, it's kind of been coming apart a bit, but I thought that would be a good thing. But it ended up, the stuff I was wearing, it didn't go with it. And so I didn't. But at some point, I will use this on some show, somewhere, somehow. Anyway, so here I have this great bag of stuff, including stuff for headaches. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay, I guess mostly headaches and also sinus relief. Daytime thing. And a little mouthwashy, Listerine stuff. And 2 Kit Kats. That'll go in the fridge. And I also had, just in case, another little wee phone charger thing, which is more simple than the other one, but still works just as well. Somewhere on here. Oh yeah, there's a button on the side, and when you push it, there's 4 tiny little dots. You can't even see them. They light up, and it shows, and it will charge, and it will do good things. I also had a charging cube, and not 1, but 2 extra, never used charging wires. So I was ready to stay charged, but also help others. And I did help this one lady, but if something had come up, I would have helped more. But I didn't have any pens with me. So anyway, the nice lady I helped with the phone, just by chance, had extra pens, so she helped me out with the pen. And that was good. The other thing I took with me that I really didn't take out much, and they don't like you're not supposed to take pictures on set, so I don't. But when I was sitting in the car, waiting, and the car was wet, it's always kind of fascinating. Water is fascinating, and the droplets are fascinating, and things. So I did experiment with some manual focusing on some of the water droplets and other such things. And if anyone had come and said anything, hey, why are you taking pictures on the set? I would have said, I'm not. You want to see my water droplets? Anyway, this camera, which is now vintage in terms of camera things, is a Sony that I got long ago. And it's quite magical. It has a Zeiss lens. This was kind of ahead of its time. Sony called it their kind of bridge camera to the DSLR world, until a lot of people realized we really don't need that mirror. We really don't. And this doesn't have a mirror. What this has is it doesn't have, oh, what happened there? It doesn't have the biggest sensor in the world. It does not. But it had a big sensor for the time, because now they've got bigger sensors. But now they've realized that you really don't need to have the DSLR thing. Oh no, why is that going to flash? Is that going to flash? It flashed. Why is that flashing? Oh, I had it on auto. I want no flash. And then I set the white balance to auto. And then I look at my iPhone and I shoot. And it shoots. Anyway, that sound is actually a fake sound. I can't go into the menu. Anyway, if you ever should see something like this, It is a 10.3 megapixel CMOS DSC-R1. They are magical. Now, compared to some of the modern cameras of today, you know, maybe not, but still, the lens is magnificent. Of course, you should never do this. But this is a nice soft t-shirt. But the lens is magnificent, and it's because there's no mirror to get in the way. It's very close to the center. And really, like, I have taken pictures. People marvel at them. I've won awards with some of the pictures I've taken with this. And I remember there was one I took of a burning chair. And then I printed it and took it to a competition. And this guy looked at it and he said, "Wow, what did you do to that?" Kind of like, what manipulations or what things or what, Photoshop things. And I looked at him and I said, "I took the picture and I printed it." Anyway, can't say enough about the Sony DSC-R1. Probably came out, trying to think now. It could have been as much as 20 years ago. I'm not sure. But they're wonderful. I've used it for tons of things. They don't have the burst mode. Sadly, they don't have a video mode, but I'm sure somebody crafty, I haven't looked online, but it's possible somebody crafty might have come up with a way to make them do video, but I don't know. But they do. Oh, the other magical thing. Oh, this is magic. When you're shooting something and there's one definite spot you want to be in focus, and the rest of it really doesn't matter. You can put it in the little mode. There's a little square. And using the controller on the back, you can move that square bang on right where you want it. Like if somebody knows or whatever, like the petals of a certain flower or whatever, you can move it right there, and that will be in focus. The rest of it, depending on the depth of field and all that other magical stuff, it too may be in focus. But that spot, what you have picked, will be bang on in focus. It is magic, and you can move it all around the frame, all around the frame. Anyway, great camera. I have more than one because after I got the one, I decided I cannot be without one. So, the other thing is, they use I think these were called compact flash cards, so they're kind of bigger. But at the time, also, Sony had their own thing of these. I don't know what they're called, but anyway, this one is a smaller card and an adapter. So it's actually got two memory card slots and a switch to switch between the two. So if you're doing something and shooting, you can just, and you fill one, you can say, "Oh, I'll just go to the other." It does shoot in RAW mode. It will do a quick burst of 3. Anyway, great camera, great camera. Anyway, I took it along. Maybe I'll see about posting a couple of the water droplet pictures. So that was kind of my survival bag, but I took no pens. I'm looking out the back here. It's gray out today, and it isn't cloudy, it's smoke. So I'm taking it easy as they suggest and not really extending myself outside. I will go outside for a little bit, but even healthy people can be affected by this smoke stuff because basically the air is full of particles. So be careful out there. Anyway, I survived my day on this movie set. It is hard to imagine the people who do this day after day after day after day, the people on the crew and other people. And they, there may be a whole lot of sitting around, but when they're called for, they're ready to go. And away they go. And like this was no small production, and they were only at this location one day. And to think of the amount of people and the amount of stuff they had to move, and then to be, halfway across the province tomorrow. So there's people that'll be there through the day, and then there'll be all the logistical people making it happen for today. Sorry, yesterday. Yeah, they were there yesterday. So today, a lot of people will be doing a lot of things, and that doesn't mean the same tents end up in a new location. They probably already have things being set up in a new location, and this stuff is either returned to whoever it was rented it from, or moved to the next place. But I did ask the one fellow, this show movie thingy is scheduled, I think he said, to be filming for 105 days. Now, during those 105 days, if you are lucky enough to be on the crew and needed for those 105 days, undoubtedly you will make a good amount of money. But you really have to put your life on hold, because like they don't do 8-hour days. They typically plan on minimum of 12, and then the next day 12, and depending where you live, that doesn't give you much time to go home and rest up and come back. And they do travel around. Like, I guess sometimes it would be, and I've been on a show called Copper years ago. It was mostly in a studio, so it was kind of a set place. But they did some traveling around. But some other things, they go all over the place. They might even travel to different parts of the world depending on where the story takes them and where the locations take them. So really, if you're involved in the industry, it's it pays well when you're working. When you're not, of course not. But it is exhausting, even for one day. And really, I prepared for the one day for many days, gathering wardrobe stuff and all kinds of stuff, and having to do this car thing. And then, of course, I had my wardrobe all picked out. I thought, oh yeah, I'm great, because I know what kind of stuff they want. And then the final sheet comes in and says, you can't wear anything blue. What do I mostly wear when I go in things like this? Blue overalls. So it's like, oh no. Anyway, I had to scrounge around some more, and I did take a lot of stuff, and it ended up, as always, they didn't really. It went very well. I had lots of extra stuff. I would rather have extra stuff than not have enough, and then say, well, we really can't use you then, and then have them call your agent and say they really weren't prepared, or something of that nature. So, yeah, I took 3 great big reusable shopping bags full of stuff, mostly different pants and shirts and things. And oh, one thing that killed me, they wanted us to wear kind of, they always say hats, but like don't wear something with a logo. Well, most baseball caps and other things, they have logos. They do, most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them do. So I hunted, and I was like, oh, I can't find anything. But I did finally find this thing. I thought this would be perfect. They'll be like, wow, this is great. And it was kind of like a wool winter hat that had a little bill. And I first saw this hat on a show called Hogan's Heroes, and I thought, wow, that's cool. And I could never find one. It took me 30 or more years to find one. I said, wow, this is cool. So anyway, I dug this out and said, yeah, this is great. I took that. I also took my leather biker hat. They rejected them both and decided I should wear one of their hats, which I did. But boy, you go through a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of thought to get what you think they want, and mostly it works out, and other times it's like, no, not really. Not really. So actually, I ended up, this is a gray tank top. This is what they picked I should wear, which is just fine, because it was a hot day. It was a muggy day. At times it was a gross day. So that was fine. But I had lots of other choices, and I'd rather have too many choices than not enough. Anyway, so today, the day after, I am recovering from 2 late night trips to do car things, and coming home exhausted, and getting up in the middle of the night, doing the car thing, going back to sleep, and da 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 da. And now this is just, I've gone through this one bag. I will put things back where they go somewhat. Like this charger got to go back to the car. And I will work on getting my documentation and emailing to them and putting things in the freezer and just, putting stuff away. And I'll also put some things back in this bag so I have them ready for the next time. And I'll charge the battery in the camera even though I hardly used it. And, I'll just try and be ready. And I would like to do more of this, as onerous and exhausting as it is. But because there's two ways that people are in this. One is they call them cash people. And if you work a whole bunch and a whole bunch and a whole bunch, and you never get upgraded, that's a whole other thing, then you can get into actor if you do it a whole bunch. But anyway, so and on those people, I don't know exactly what they're paid, but it's considerably less than if you're in ACTRA. And I was fortunate enough years ago to get an opportunity to join ACTRA, so I did. So it probably means that for what I did yesterday, I'll probably get, because of overtime and other such things and between 2.5 times what the people they call the cash people get. So it does make it worthwhile. It does. But it's a lot of effort to go and feel you just stand around. Well, no. In some scenes it really is carefully choreographed, where you're supposed to walk through a certain way, a certain time, and this, they had a lot of people in the parking lot in the background walking around, and you have to leave at the same time and up at the same time, basically. Don't look at the camera, and basically do what you're going to do. And really, like when I was doing the driving thing, I had to back into the certain spot, and when I back in there, and people, oh yeah, just back in, it's simple. Well, it is, but it isn't, because there was stuff kind of there. And so I backed in on a bit of an angle, as if I had just backed out of a spot, which is kind of what they had in mind. But then I had 3 bearings just to make sure. If I looked in the mirror on the passenger side, I could see the logo on the side of the crane that was dealing with the camera, and I knew exactly where it was in the mirror. And I was also lined up about halfway into the last 2 parking spots, because there was another little inlet kind of alcove where I was actually backing into. So I can't say I was within an inch or two of where I was every time, but I was mighty close. And the way you know that what you're doing is going well is they never say anything about it. So, and it's funny, the handler guy was like, "Oh, I'll help you get back there," and I was just looking like, I can do this, because basically all I had to do was drive to the end of the parking lot, turn, and vanish. And when they yelled cut, then I had to reverse the process, get back in as close to the same position as I possibly could, and be ready for the next time. And there was another vehicle in the midst of all this that was doing stuff, and it always took them a long time to get it in. But I was like, I'd back up. Mind you, I was making sure, and I always knew that no one was around there, but I would always make sure there was no one around there. Back up, zip down, but not at an excessive speed. Pull into the same spot where I would back up from, look in my mirror, look for the logo, look for the whatever, line myself up, and wait to be told otherwise. And I was never told anything about anything. So, sometimes silence is golden. But I'm tired. But as tired as I was, there was a young guy there who looked pretty strong and pretty fit and probably everything, and he was hurting. And well, I feel it today. I'm not bad. It's mostly just the exhaustion. Anyway, if you are thinking of becoming involved in any aspect of this industry, just be aware. If you are on a show many days in a row, and they typically don't work weekends. But still, if you are on a show many days in a row, um, you will become exhausted, and we've just got to be ready to know that okay, the money's great, da 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 da. Sometimes you meet some famous people and whatever else, but it is an all-encompassing, all-consuming thing. Absolutely, positively, there is no there's no life like it. But in some ways, if you have significant others and family and stuff, when you're working, and if you're committed to like a whole long run of days or thing, it means that you're not going to be around. And it doesn't matter if there's a dinner or this or that, you're not going to be around. Oh, another thing before I forget, the COVID days are over. As far as the movie industry is concerned, there was no testing. And during COVID, when I was summoned to things, we all had our own table, which was maybe 4 by 8 with one chair at it. So it did take a bigger tent and a bigger this, and a bigger that, and whatever. Well, I hadn't been on something for a while. So I go in, and I'm like, oh. So had they cut back to 2 people a table, or 3 or 4? Oh no, it was back to the way it used to be, in that there was a 4 by 8 table, and there might have been 8 or 10 people expected to sit at it. And there was no COVID testing, none at all. No talk of COVID, nothing. And I was like, oh. Anyway, we were jammed in tight. And if ever there was a breeding ground for such things, or any communicable disease, even a cold, we're back where we started. So I know the industry, it cost them, the whole COVID thing cost them a lot. But I would like to think that they had decided to adopt not the same level of stuff, like not COVID testing and nurses every day and da 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 da, and not even COVID testing, but certainly the seating arrangements, I suspect, could have been. But like at a table, a 4 by 8 table, I'm surprised they didn't say, okay, so you got maybe a person at each end and 2 others, so 4 to a table or something. But oh no, we were packed in there tight, and I had kind of the end corner. And when lunch comes and you've got this paper flip tray thing that you put stuff in, like really, it's almost like a choreographic thing to figure out, okay, so I can put mine here and I can have the lid flip over here. You can have yours there and have the lid flip over there. The person over there who you're really tight on has to kind of have theirs and flip it over there, or maybe flip it towards the middle. So it's a whole new way. Like the old days, but in some ways even tighter. Like they should have had more stuff. And when we were doing our lots of waiting, they should have had not another holding area, but there should have been somewhere where they had more chairs, because there were a lot of people on there who were quite elderly, and they can't stand forever. They just can't. And even I, at times, was thinking, oh, I gotta sit down somewhere. And thankfully, I had the car handy, and I could go and sit in there. But otherwise, I probably would have said, look, I really need a chair. And they really should have been providing such chairs, and having like another spot away from the main holding area, because there was a lot of waiting. And I'm sure they would, if it had really come to it, they would have, because somebody would have picked up the phone and called ACTRA and said, hey, we're dying here. We got nowhere to sit. It's sunny. It's hot. It's muggy. Da, 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 da. And then somebody from ACTRA would have called somebody from the production and said, we've had a complaint from the set. And then suddenly, chairs would have appeared. I guarantee it. Anyway, we survived. And like always, the pain and suffering of this will go away when the check arrives. and you say, yeah, that was good. But I'm glad I'm not doing another day right away on that or another production, because I couldn't have done another back-to-back day unless I knew way ahead of time, because then I would have planned things differently. But I do feel for the people on the crew who are out there again today, far away, maybe not half the province away, but a good distance away, back at it, locking it up, back to ones, rolling, sound is rolling, and all that. Anyway, there's no life like it, and for some people, it's great. And for other people, they do it once and they say, I will never do that again. Anyway, I've done quite a bit of it, but I haven't done as much as I would like. But also, it's tough. Yeah. And unless you've done it, you don't know. Anyway, thanks for being here. I've got more pets and things to look into, and I've got things to put away, and chargers to charge, water to freeze. And yeah. I think I did record a video yesterday in my car while on the set, and I must say I was tired. I haven't even looked at it. Maybe it's already up by now. By the time you see this, maybe. But oh my god, I was tired. I am recovering. Anyway, if you have any questions about any of this, feel free to send me a message, and I'll do my best to help you decide to give it a try or decide to never do it. There seems to be no in between. People either love it or they just say nope, nope, nope. All right. I gotta keep tidying up here because now this table is a mess, and it can't be a mess because I have pets to work on. Thanks so much for coming. Bye for now.